And without further ado, we welcome a legend on the Florida Gators offensive line, Carl Johnson. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Good. How are you guys?
You're doing
Good,
great,
man.
man.
Dude,
First and foremost, let me apologize for last Monday. I had my entire family, my wife's family, my family over, and I just totally forgot. I'm so sorry.
No, it happens, man. It was a holiday. We didn't hold the fans was on our neck like, yo, y'all pump faked us with Carl Johnson. What's up with that? But
Yeah. I apologize.
all good, bro.
The family man. So and then Memorial Day is big in my family. I had a grandfather who was an airborne paratrooper in Vietnam. So Memorial Day kind of really hits hard for us. The morning is spent really mourning soldiers. I tell my kids, someone died that don't even know you, so you got the opportunity to sit on your butt today. Someone died so you can eat pizza and grill out.
Absolutely.
Made the ultimate sacrifice. My grandfather did 2 tours of Vietnam, went back because of what felt his men, his fellow brethren going through. So I had no choice but to dedicate the first half of that day to those men who are gone but never forgotten.
Absolutely.
That's
Well
awesome.
said.
Very, very well said. And it would be, I would be remiss to not mention on today, June 6th, 1944 was D-Day. My grandfather served at D-Day. So again, thank you, those that served and those that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So thanks, Carl, for bringing that up and mentioning that as well. But it's good to have you on, and certainly no sweat. And we're excited to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more. Carl, you were a guy, we're the same age. So when I was coming in to UF, we had an elite recruiting class. You had Tim Tebow and Brandon Spikes. You had Percy Harvin. You had Jared Faison. And then you had Carl Johnson in that class, man. Tell us a little bit about how you ultimately decided on UF and what being a part of that recruiting class was like for you.
Being from North Carolina, I actually didn't know anything about the University of Florida. We're ACC country, almost competitive conference. So we watch ACC football, Carolina football, Wake Forest, Duke, NC State. My father was my head coach and O-line coach. So he comes from the coaching clinic from Florida and was like, hey, man, I was the number 1 lineman in the nation. I was going to Duke. No one had known, but I was going to Duke University. Like, we had already, pretty much
play point guard. What are you gonna do?
The radar. I'm just from Durham. Tobacco Road is literally a stone's throw from the crib. I love mama's cooking. You can't beat it. So I was literally going to Duke. Like, no one known. I had the grades. Academically, I was prepared. And I was like, I'm going to go to Duke. It's right down the street from the crib. And then literally 2 months before I committed, my dad comes home from the summer camp from Florida and goes, hey, man, you need to check out this school named Florida. I'm like, Florida? So I look it up. It was Ron Zook. I think they went 7-4 or 7-6. I was like, ain't no way I'm going there. Because in my high school in Southern Durham, I lost 4 games in 4 years. We were like a parental power in North Carolina. Right. We up there with Charlotte Independence. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to Florida. And so he said, hey, man, let's just take a trip. I think it was June or July. I took my first trip down here, and I was like, I've never seen palm trees. You know what I mean? I'm from Tobacco Road on a farm. So I'm like, what are these? My dad's like, man, these palm trees, da-da-da-da. So I've never seen it. I've seen palm trees, but I've never seen it on a campus. It's always at a pool or a resort or Jamaica. Right. So I'm like, they live like this? He like, yeah, man, this every day. So then I came back during the season, and they took us to Lake Wahlberg. And that's the first time I really seen an open giant lake. I'm from North Carolina. I've seen Falls Lake, but never the scenery of Lake Wahlberg. Mm-hmm. And once I saw it, something inside me was like, you're going here. So I walked up to Coach Meyer and I said, hey, Coach, I want to commit to Florida. And he just got emotional. The number 1 lineman in the nation just committed to Florida. And then I think I came to the Tennessee game. And it's also in Tebow's book, this part. I went up to Tebow and I said, if you come to Florida, I'll build you the greatest O-line in UF history. And he said, okay. And then a couple months later, he committed. And then I got on the phone, and the rest is history.
Real quick, what was the process like to becoming the number 1 offensive tackle in the country? That comes with a lot of work, a lot of camps. How early in the process did you start playing football?
Actually, I didn't do any camps. My dad didn't believe in camps. My dad's old school, so he was like a legendary Clemson player. So he kind of already known the ropes. You know, he already knew what it took, what was inclined, what was the future like. So I think I went to like the Nike Elite camp and then like a Scout.com camp. That was it. That's the only camps I went to. It was just grinding. Like, you got to like the work. You got to like to get out there and bust your butt. I remember I was like 12 years old and we're watching Florida State versus Wake Forest. And I never forget it. I'm laying on the floor in the living room in North Carolina. And I tell my dad, I said, I want to do this. He goes, it's going to be a lot of work, but if you listen to me, you'll be the best. So I get up. He didn't know what I was doing. I get up, I go in my room, I change. I come back downstairs. I say, can we go in the garage and put some work in? And he was shocked, you know, like, what? This is a 12-year-old. And when every day since then, we put in work until I became a parade All-American. I was the first Gatorade player in the history of North Carolina. I just took the torch and ran. You know, I had a father who showed me the way, but also never cursed me, never belittled me, never berated me. Is always love and positive motivation. So it was really easy to be great when you have a strong male leader like that.
Man, that's beautiful. We'll get into that a little bit later. But Urban Meyer's recruiting. He didn't have to do a lot of recruiting with you. But once on campus, he has a process of de-recruiting. What was that process like when you got on campus?
It was a rude awakening because, you know, they sell you the lollipops and cupcakes before they get you on campus. And biggest thing for me that took a long time to really like get over mentally, one was the heat from North Carolina. That heat from Florida is just different. It really took me about a year. And then two, the way they verbally talk to you. Again, since I was like 10 years old, I had a father that never cursed, never berated, never belittled. So, you know, Dan Gummit, you know, my dad came up in the Danny Ford era. So it's Dan Gummit, Shuck Naked, you know, what in the ham sandwich you doing, boy? And then I come to Florida.
In Florida, we didn't get that from coaches, man. They curse you out, bro.
Yeah, dude. And coming from a father who never cursed,
right?
And then you get MF, you fat slob. It literally like reset me mentally. Like, it like knocked me down on like a self-esteem pole. So it took me like a year and my father to kind of like walk me through that phase because like I have never been talked to like that. So my reaction to that type of verbiage was say it back to the coaches, which we all know like the old South coaches don't like you talking back to them. So it took me about a year. It took me from the spring of 06 to like the spring of 07. And then I kind of got my legs underneath me.
Nice.
Carl, you redshirted that first year when the Gators won the national championship, the first of your two. What was that experience like? You go from being a parade All-American, you're a 5-star, number one ranked offensive lineman in the country, and then your first year you're redshirted. Did you know you were going to be redshirted? And then, but ultimately, mentally, what's that like during your first year?
I mean, to be honest, like I wanted to transfer like a month after coming into to the University of Florida. I called my parents. I called my dad because he knew the rules. And he was just like, oh, you already went to your first class. You got to sit out. But we were going to do the hardship because being from North Carolina, coming down. But it was really due to the coaches, how Urban just treated people and talked to you. And then like my life story, I was adopted. So I was adopted at 9 to my parents that I call my dad and mom. So like I came from a really abusive like bio mother, like, I mean, extremely abusive, dude. Like I have a Netflix story coming out about it. Like, crazy abusive. So like when I got to Florida and the way they talked to me, they kind of took me back to like an 8-year-old, 7-year-old getting abused. Yeah. So it took me a little bit to kind of get over that mental hurdle. And so I wanted to transfer because I was like, Dad, they just mean, they just nasty to me. They used to call me BFC, Big Fat Carl, just because I was bigger than everyone. So it took a long mental hurdle. But then my dad was like, going in at the end of 06, redshirting. And I was like, I want to transfer. I want to be here. I want to leave. And he was like, oh man, you're gonna hurt recruiting there. How would it look? You know, Urban can't satisfy the number one lineman in the nation. And I'm still friends with like Andre Smith and them. You know, I'm talking to him and he just shows up to Alabama and start playing. They like embrace him like, hey, you the guy. Come on, you know, be the guy for us. And then I come to Florida. They like, you ain't shit. You garbage. And I'm like, how am I garbage? I'm the number one lineman. Right. But that's how they treated you. Yeah. So after my dad was like, hey man, this is like everywhere you go. And then he kind of was like, every spring we would go to the Keys to kind of reset my mind, and he would just talk to me. He had a strong message. Just listen to what they're saying, not how they're saying. Get the message out of it. Like he would always say, "You're gonna go through hell no matter what, so get some out of it." So I just had to reset my mind and start playing football and letting them see like why I was so highly recruited. And then like the verbiage kind of, as I became that guy, they kind of slowed down of their harsh treatment.
Did you notice that with a lot of players that came onto campus? I mean, was it a de-recruitment process for everybody? Did you feel targeted at all, or was it?
I don't want to say everybody. I would say the more ghetto-ish you were, the less they kind of mess with you. If they knew you were gonna like buck, like, they knew the guy that will buck versus the guy. They knew kids who came from suburbia wouldn't buck, and I was like a suburbia kid, so they kind of knew like, oh, he just gonna kind of take it. But like as I became that guy, I kind of like made him eat it, because I came more and more rebellious as I got older and older and better and better. I kind of started bucking on them, which they, you know how they paint you as a character issue guy as you kind of find your own manhood. Like I had a father who was like, be a man, stand on what you believe in. He always tell us never bite your tongue because you should never like the way it tastes. So as I started expressing myself to them, they didn't really like it. But yeah, I would say majority of the players, majority of the teams had I would call it briefing phase. Like the military, they had to kind of knock you back into reality, because some of us came in a little big headed.
So Carl, your first year, you redshirt, you guys won a national championship, and then after that, the offensive line that you talked about. Obviously, there's a lot of graduations. After that national championship, and then the year after, you start Tebow's Heisman, or you start playing Tebow's Heisman year, and then over the next couple of years, you guys do create one of the best offensive lines in UF history with the Pounceys and the rest of the gang. How did that all begin to mesh, and how did you guys ultimately become such a good unit? Because obviously you guys had a lot of great players, but you guys were a consistently and highly rated unit beyond just individual players.
I would say through suffering together. As a collegiate athlete, you kind of like go through it with your brethrens. So we were watching like Metter, Jason Watt, Jim Tart, Drew Miller. I mean, I'm not no disrespect to guys if they're listening or their family tell them like we love them, but damn it, I knew since a freshman I was better than them. I'm pretty sure the Pounceys knew they were better than them. Marcus knew better than them. But like, no disrespect to Steve Adazio, I don't really think he coached any real talent before. I think we was his first group of talent. He's a grinder. He comes from Indiana, all these small schools where you had to develop linemen. You had to kind of like create them. He was the first time in Florida where he got like athletes who just so happened to be O linemen. Versus you got to develop us. We literally was just we were D linemen who were too fat and hated to run. We were aggressive. We liked to fight. We were down for whatever smoke you had. We were like all five of us, like, yeah, come on, we'll jump you together as a group. We down. We'll fight you in the locker room. We'll fight you on the field. So we had like a defensive mind mentality as O linemen. So I think like how Dazio kind of like grinded into us, it kind of like made us like be around each other more, depend on each other more, vent to each other more. So then as we got to playing, we had already went through the worst of it, like redshirting. Like think of Mike Pouncey, man. They had a first round draft pick playing D line as a freshman. Like, come on, like, and these are the elite coaches. It's talent. They never seen talent like that before. So it's like, well, hell, what do we do? Just put them in where you can fit them in. So and then after that whole 07 season, after losing, because I came in like third, I think Ole Miss game. I came in after Jim Tart got hurt and Marcus got hurt. They finally let me play, and then I just went crazy. Like I refused to let it go. You know what I mean? And I had a broken wrist, like while going nuts out there. And then I think going into 08, we had already went through the thick of it with each other. So then it was more like, all right, guys, we know what it takes. And then like those 06 guys kind of let us know that this was their championship, like the Chris Leaks, the Jarvis Moss, the Ray McDonald's, the Brandon Silas, the Joe Coins. They made it very clear this was their championship. So we had a chip on our shoulder, like, all right, I bet you at the end of ours, they won't even know who the '06 team is. And they're gonna only talk about our championship. And look at today, most fans remember us from the '08 championship and the '06 championship. It sucks that we didn't get a chance to go for '09 because we were ready. I promise you, we were ready. Just people throwing parties and falling asleep. So it blows it.
Yeah.
We were ready to repeat. That's something we wanted to do. We wanted to erase like the legacy of any other champion at Florida. We wanted to pretty much be our school. Like that was something like we talked about in the locker room. That was something we talked about at training table. We talked about in tutoring. It was like, man, when we leave here, they ain't gonna know nothing about no other Gator team ever. They're gonna only talk about us.
Give me some practice energy. What was practice like? I hear like Ahmad. We started this show with Ahmad, so we know about the practice coach, how competitive it was.
Oh, man, practice was like the gladiators of gladiator showdown. Like you had to be modest for TV on Saturday, but come practice, dude. Like I said, you had an offense who was violent. You had a front five who didn't take shit from nobody. You had a defense with Spikes and Joe Hayden. I mean, Major Wright, Carlos Dunlap, Jermaine Cunningham, Ryan Stamper. I mean, you had an elite defense that we used to thrash every day.
yeah. You offense won most of those battles
every day.
Oh, maybe we need to get Ahmad on here because he was telling some different stories. He had some different energy on the defensive side of the ball.
7-on-7, I'm pretty sure the receivers win. But when we went BPU, we dominated. When we went goal line, we dominated. We won more times than we lost win or loser days. We always won more than we lost.
Who was your toughest battle in the trenches on the defensive line?
I'm sorry?
Who was your toughest battle in the trenches on the defensive line in practice?
It was Jermaine. For me, Jermaine Cunningham was my arch nemesis. Like, they used to always put me and him together. On one-on-one pass rush, BPU, it was always me and him. I was a pretty good natural pass blocker. I had a father who was an O-lineman. So I was like literally taught NFL O-line in high school. So when I got to Florida, they kind of had to like regress me because Adazio didn't like what I was taught. But if you look at the Pouncies or Marcus or any one of us who went pro, I was just talking to Marcus like last year. And he was like, man, you was pro ready when you got to Florida. Like your dad had you NFL ready at Florida. I think that's something I should have taken more careful in is looking at a coach who's coached high-level players before, so like first rounders. I mean, I had a coach at NC State that I really liked, Coach Barry. He was known for producing first rounders from NC State with Chuck Amato. But I just didn't like Chuck Amato.
Yeah.
He just, hey guys, welcome to NC State. No way. But I just wasn't really familiar with Adazio. So when I got here, they had to like tweak how the Pouncies played. They had to tweak how Marcus played. They had to tweak how I played. But if you look at how those guys played in the league, they played exactly like they did in high school. Wild, loose, reckless, flying everywhere all over the field. But like Adazio wanted us to duck waddle, choppy feet, put your weight in your feet, knees to hands, all this stuff that, I mean, when you get to the NFL, no one even cares about that shit. It's, can you block this guy? Yes or no? So, but practicing was, I mean, it was intense, dude. It's the reason why we dominated how we did, because practice was extreme. When I say extremely intense, it was extremely intense. Man, we used to fight the D lineman every day.
Yeah. Who had the best hands on the team?
Stop doing one-on-one pass rush because how much we fought.
So who had the best hands on the team?
I don't know.
This is the question. This is what
it would just be brawls. I mean, it'd be 40, 50 people just going at it.
I like it. What was it like being in the huddle with Tim Tebow? What was his leadership like in the locker room? You guys won a national championship. The whole run, watching his maturation.
He was that guy. I mean, we didn't really interact much with other positions. The Florida was power to unit. Be with your guys, your group, do your job. So we would see Tebow in practice and maybe offensive film setting. But he was a good leader. I mean, he was a man's man. He'll take it on the chin if it was his fault. He never made excuses. He never blamed someone else for what he did. Let's say in the game he made a bad pass in the huddle, he'll say, "Dang it, guys, that's on me. I made a throw." I think that's a great leader.
You curse like your dad.
Yeah, dang it.
Dadgummit.
So he'll like, "Dang, guys, that's on me. I made a bad read or I made a bad throw." And we'll be like, "Hey, man, it's okay. Let's just get this play." And I think that made it easier to go to war with a leader who never said, why was this guy close to me? I didn't have a clean pocket.
Right.
Get more separation. It was always his fault first. Even if film showed it wasn't, he would take it on the chin. So that makes it easier for you to do your job, because if you mess up, then you can just be like, damn, Tebow, my bad. I'm gonna make up for it. And he'll be like, yeah, I know you will. And so you would just be ready to go to war for him.
Carl, what was that year? Because you were there in 2010. That was the year that the Gators go undefeated during the regular season. They lose to Alabama, beat Cincinnati, and then not long after that, Urban Meyer takes a step down for about 36 hours. Steve Adazio takes over. He comes back, but Steve Adazio takes over during the offseason. What was that, couple of days and couple of weeks, and then, ultimately a couple of months that led you into that next season like?
I would say a level of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
I think it caught everybody off guard. Him just like, I'm out. I'm not now, but I have heart problems, complications. It just was like, whoa, because I said something in a team meeting. I was like, well, you told my mom that you were going to be there until I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
This is my last year. Kind of, you got to be a man of your word. I think at that point, at that young, none of us really understood what was happening, because we were like 18, 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're that young, you're kind of like naive to whatever the issue is of the coach or the coaching staff. So it was more like, what's going on? I think that's never happened in college football since or prior. So a coach just up and leave at the end of a hot season, going into another,
Well, Carl, was there? I didn't mean to cut you off, but it had to be some type of drama. We message board fans, we knew some of the drama that was going on around the city, on the campus. Was there any drama leading up to that? Like, it wasn't intense, awkward, nothing leading up to that?
At that point, no, not from my end, because I was just focused on getting the hell out of Florida. So my thing was just get through the process and get out of here. Like, just get out of here.
Right.
So like, I was just like the old saying, keep your head down and your eyes open. So I didn't see, you hear the rumors. I'm not going to go into all the rumors that was going on. Now we're seeing what happened to Jacksonville. I kind of believe the rumors more so now. Which is, I also find as an oxymoron, is like how you tell the players don't drink the poison, stay away from vices, and then your head coach has vices.
Mm-hmm.
We're children. And my thing is, like, I talk to mentor other people today, is how do the system rain down hard on children but give grown-ass men a slap on the wrist?
Right.
Imagine if that was a player doing what he got caught doing. And now look at him. He still can follow up with a multi-million-dollar job. I know dudes who got drunk in college and made a bad decision who still can't get an opportunity to coach today. And this guy just keeps getting opportunity after opportunity. But at that young, you didn't really believe it. But now that I'm older, I believe 85% of the rumors that were floating around. But most of us would have NFL aspirations.
Yeah.
If they lie and tell you they didn't, they lying, because that's all we ever talked about was going pro, getting out of here. So I think all of us who were elite knew where we were headed, and we were kind of focused on that. Man, I wish I was college now, but these boys killing it with these.
They getting that check, ain't they?
God, I was the number one lineman in the nation. Boy, how much do you think they would have paid me?
Oh, you was getting that.
$3-4 mil?
I'm trying to tell you. Man,
Jesus.
they was gonna back up the Brinks truck.
But they were kicking you out for getting a free meal, and these boys eating like this. Like, it's crazy.
Here's the thing, though. Urban Meyer was giving out the NIL bag, but you was just you came and loved the lake. You didn't get none of that, man. I'm pretty sure Urban was handing out some duffels.
I heard the stories.
Some things.
I don't know. I can't confirm nor deny. Hear the stories on buying rims and apartments, moving families down here. I can't confirm nor deny. But
Carl's not confirming, but he's definitely not denying.
I can't confirm nor deny, but I heard the stories, let's say, of what he's done for some families. But my family didn't need nothing. No, my dad had played in the league. They had money. My mom was making like over $100K back in 2003, 2004. So like my parents really didn't need. So it wasn't like they were needing Carl to be successful for the family. Like I tell
Right.
people, money's supposed to flow like a river. You ever see money flowing upstream? The moment you got to take care of mom and dad, you blew the money. Money's supposed to flow like water downstream. It's supposed to go from you to your children and your children, your children. That's why it's called generational wealth. The moment you take your money and take care of your mama and grandmama, aunt, uncles, you blew generational wealth. It's over.
Talk that talk, Carl. Carl came to preach to the congregation, the choir, and
I
all the
learned this
singers and everybody else.
I learned this when I was like 10, dude, from my parents. It's like
Talk that talk, man.
you're never supposed to take care of your parents. The money's supposed to flow downriver. And the moment you go backwards with the bag, you blew generational wealth.
Ooh, you sound like a rapper, Carl.
Real financial advisor, they would tell you if your mom ain't got it by the time you get it, she don't deserve it.
Ooh, Carl, talk that lingo. Big lingo, man.
Carl, what are you up to these days?
I own my own restaurant. I used to have my own home care business just due to the sadness of it. I had to let it go during the pandemic. Just families don't treat each other right. I'm not going to go into other people. Plus the HIPAA law, I can't really go too much. I'm still for 7 years. But it's just home care is very sad. You see children literally stabbing their parents in the back for inheritance or only coming around when it's the money drop for the money. And their parents are, worship every word they say. They walk on every cloud that they step. And it's just sad to see him only come around Thanksgiving or the birthday when the money drops. So I just told her why. Eventually something like that eats away at you, and before it taints me, I'm gonna leave. So I just sold it like 2 years ago, and then I started. I went to school to learn how to cook, get my chef certification. So now I own my own restaurant, and I do bagels and like.
I seen them bagels, man.
Yeah, and I do like French cuisine, French brunch, and we're in the middle of getting it built right now. So I'm doing what I love. I love being in the kitchen as a fat man. I love food, and if you can cook it, you never have to endure a bad meal.
You're back in the Durham area, or?
No, I'm still in Gainesville. My parents.
Oh, no kidding.
2007. Just because financially, flying home and away games, rental cars, hotels, food, it just got so expensive. So they moved down here in 2007.
That's awesome. Carl, I was reading a little bit. I know you were involved with Johnny Townsend's event that he had at the Orange and Blue game. Talk to us a little bit about the fraternity of UF football. You still keep in touch with a lot of guys, and you guys get together pretty often, or do any reunions or anything?
We talk all the time. It's like a brotherhood. I think now all of us are family men, so getting together, other than like the Gator events, is a little harder. But we talk all the time. It's like, it's so crazy because I cannot see those guys for like 3-4 years. And the moment I see them, it's like we see each other every day. It's like we're back in college, joking, laughing, having a good time. But I think when you endure with someone, it's like, put it like this. I tell my kids this: the Gator logo means more to me than fun. I know people who broke bones, tore ligaments. I've cried with my brothers who could never play. So it's like a soldier seeing an American flag. It means a lot more than fun to me. Like Jim Barry, I bet you wouldn't be talking to me today if Jim Barry would have never blew his knee out. You would never talk to the Pounceys either. He was starting before all of us until he blew his knee out. So guys like that you would never know who they really are. I remember those guys, when I was on the bench in 2006 and Mike is playing defense and Marquise is center, but nobody realized that before Marquise became the center, Jim Barry was that guy. But he blew his knee out in that training camp, and then Keith stepped in, and the rest is history. But what if he never blew his knee out? You know what I mean? Like, so it means a lot more to me than the average person. I remember, looking at BT, a safety that was before Ahmad Black. If BT would never blew his knee out, would you even know who Ahmad Black is? Because BT was one of the top safeties.
If you ask Ahmad, yes.
I mean, I would say, I was a hard worker, but it'll be one hell of a fight because BT was 6'2", ran like a 4.4, highly recruited. And
from Zephyr Hills, right? I remember him, like, he was a real good prospect.
Yeah, dude. He was a ball hawk. Ahmad was a hitter. BT was like Ed Reed. He'll hit you if he had to, but he going to snatch that ball first. But he blew his knee out in practice. You never heard from him. So it's guys like that I think about all the time. So we like brotherhood. It's like a frat. I love those guys to death. Anytime they need anything, I talk to my boy Mo Hurt all the time on social media. They ever need anything, I'm one phone call away. I don't care what it is.
That's what's up.
That's awesome. Well, Carl, man, we appreciate you coming on. Do you want to plug your restaurant real quick before we head out?
Follow Egg and Bagel on all social media platforms. Hit us up on Google. If you're in the Gainesville area, any one of you two, anytime this fall, stop on by.
I'm in there. I'm up there tomorrow, man.
Come on. I mean, the restaurant's getting built, so we
Yeah.
saws and stuff, but come on over sometime. I think we should be open like middle of August, so I'll
during the season.
put out the address. Egg and Bagels, come through, get some bagels, come get some French cuisine. We have Cornish hens, lemon circot, endive, Swedish char. I make a chocolate mousse from scratch. I also has an apricot dessert. So come on through. I'll accompany you.
Okay, Carl.
There it is.
What
part of town are you going to be in?
Let's laugh and eat.
What part of town are you going to be in?
Right by Hale Plantation.
There you go.
Location.
I'm pulling up, Carl. I'm coming to check out the bagels, my guy.
Yeah, come on, eat. Come have some fun and let's laugh.
Awesome,
all right, man. Thanks for hanging out, man. We appreciate you for pulling up, man.
Thank you guys for having me. Have a good night.
Appreciate you, Carl. Great interview with Carl Johnson, man. I want to get him back on. I feel like there's some stories that he didn't share. We still got some time for him to get a little bit more comfortable.